Brian and Amy look like they're just vegging, staring off into space. It's been a long week. Oh, man.
Do you want the truth? Are you tired of being so confused? You feel like you're more fucked up than the lies on the evening news? Well, just step right in. We can talk about it all as friends. And if you want, we can hug and kiss and make up for the party ends. Agree or disagree, just don't unfriend me. 'Cause I'm everything you want, damn sure what you need. I won't tell no lies, back up all the facts with truth. And if you can't get down with that, you must be somebody's dude.
Hey to that one person watching on dumbshow.com. Welcome. That's cool to see. One person watching on the dumbshow.com. That is pretty. Oh, crap. I screwed it. Hold on. I forgot about this part.
Hey, Hogs Twins here. Check out our friend Matthew Spirit at his podcast at The Dumb Show and his website, don'tunfriendme.com. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
I love
had
that.
to get that in. What's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
It's been a long week. A lot of
It's been a-
news. There's a lot this week.
Oh boy.
Been a lot.
First off,
going
to the
on.
one person watching on dumbshow.com, welcome. It's good to see you. It's awesome to see one person. I mean, most people are going to watch from Facebook or whatever because of the interaction. But if you don't want the hustle and bustle and you just want to, you're sitting by your desktop or whatever, it's good to see. All right. Rumble. So I've had kind of a bone to pick with Rumble. Like everyone's like, it's the freedom channel. It's so easy to grow. No, it's not. It's like literally an 80-year-old man without Viagra. It's horrible to grow. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna. They said, well, here's an ad account. I'm like, oh, well, thanks. I'm gonna go ahead and put $100 into it and see what it does. Right.
Right.
And
how'd that go?
4 days ago, I put it on there and 0 links, 0 traffic, 0 spent. I'm like, what the flying shite is going on? I do this for a living. It's not like it's that hard. And so I'm like, give me my $100 back. Go piss up a rope. Of course, I didn't say it that way. And then within 45 seconds, I have a reply. We're on it. We're going to get this fixed. Hang tight.
Wow.
And then 35 seconds later, Mr. Spear, we got taken care of. Your ad's running 100% free of charge. We apologize for the screw up. We had to provision your account. We forgot to do that. There you go. And I'm like, wow. So that's what this feels like. Customer service.
Okay.
So we'll see how it goes. Right.
I was thinking maybe Dan Bongino himself was like, oh, I don't like that guy. His arms
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is I wound up getting like 185 impressions in 12 seconds and it cost me like 6 cents. And I'm like, that's amazing CPM. That's like 36 cents per 1,000. That's a ridiculous number. And if that's the case, then I'm going to run ads on. See, I run ads on Facebook because I know how to get it for like 7 cents a frickin' click. And then I know how to get CPM at like 6 cents 1,000 people. So that's the secret, right? It's just knowing how, but anyway, this is all stupid. So here's the deal. First of all, I want to get through because we've got a lot to cover. Oh, holy crap. It's the night of the video. It's like it was almost like waiting for Kim Kardashian's porn tape. I mean,
wait, did she make one?
Yeah, a long time ago. I've seen it like 785 times.
I've never seen it.
No. I don't care. I don't care what anyone says. Kim Kardashian's hot. So
Yeah,
I don't want to listen to her. I don't want to listen to her. I don't want her to talk. But as long as she sits there and it's like Alyssa Milano when I replied to her today.
I would sooner watch B. Arthur in a porno.
Easy. Dude, it's kind of funny when Alyssa Milano, when I gave her a little, a jab, the second response I had is, my God, you're hot. Thank God you're pretty, because otherwise. All right. So I think she found out today who the boss was. Dale, welcome. Amy, good to see you. Lee, hello. Rhonda, Will, Jason. Hey, you remember that guy, was it Bogley? Jason Bogley from Annapolis, who called in, and you were going to kill him. You were going to kill him, Leroy. Like everything he said, you were just like, I just hate this guy. And your text, you remember him?
Yeah, I do.
Mildly. Yeah.
He's the guy that called in, and he was arguing about, I don't even know what the hell he was arguing about. So he decided to come back, and he's like, he's just literally just hitting on gun control. And it's all the talking points that just make me feel so good inside. And I'm just like, bro, yes. I'm like, shut up. I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, yeah, well, men have guns so they can feel, strong and cover up their inadequacies. And I'm like, okay, listen, you little pecker. So I kind of went off on him.
I'm
like, listen,
some of them do, but that doesn't mean that you get to restrict the rights of anybody else.
Does he even remember how bad he did on this show? Like every single thing he said was wrong. And everyone's just like, we really appreciate it. We'd love to have you back. We try to do that with everybody, but he's like, you're being two-faced. I'm like, no, I'm not. I was being honest. I would love to have you back. But if you're going to sit here and pretend like, you're the second coming of Ben Shapiro on the left, dude. You're
right. That's
he's
the
like,
problem. Well, there is no second coming of Ben Shapiro on the
left,
right? Because if Ben Shapiro on the left, well,
they would not be talking facts. Right.
Exactly.
We understand how it works, but he's just like, and finally, I'm just like, dude, you're crying like a little girl. Well, you didn't own me in that debate.
Don't misgender me.
I came back 3 days later and I posted 2 links that disproved how much full of shit you were. Dude, you said 1,000 things that show. Leroy and I couldn't get a fucking word in. And everything you said was crap. And then the things that we said. So it comes down to you can do no wrong, right? That's what you're trying to say. You're always right. You can do no wrong. Everything you said was perfect. And he's just, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, well, kids in school is dying. And I said, yeah, they're dying. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I get
right.
It.
They are. What are you going to do about it? He's like, we need to figure out how to stop, guns in the hands of children. I said, well, it starts with education. It starts with securing that. And he's like, oh, no. He's like, that's only a part of the problem. I'm like, okay. And he's like, notice how Matt hasn't done anything. I'm like, dude, I've been a watchdog at schools. I've put my body in fucking jeopardy without a weapon and I would throw my life on the line for any of those kids. I've ran security and operational security at 2 different fucking schools for my children. I've given back thousands of hours to veterans. I taught 3 different sheriff's department and police departments how to fire their fucking service revolvers and weapons. What do you want? I mean, I'm sorry, but maybe I didn't give it the office. That's the problem.
Well, there's always going to be the people that Teddy Roosevelt did a speech turned into a poem and was called the Man in the Arena. And basically what the poem boils down to is that, dude, if you're the guy out there, making it work, doing your own show, if you're the guy that carries because you took these classes and because you take your Second Amendment rights as seriously as you do the responsibility behind them, then there's always the critics who are always like, oh, that's just a guy who feels like he's got a little dick. And it's like, no, you're wrong. And so there's always that debate.
I do have a little dick. It's pathetic. It's just
you need to know that.
I
got a little dick. It's pathetic.
It's pathetic. That's where I got it.
I have to lie.
It's pathetic. Get lost, dipshit. All right. Anyway, so
Bill Paxton.
Oh, dude. I mean, just such a character actor. All right, Amy, good to see you. Leroy, let's go through a few things. Amy is here. Kat is in the house. Glenn's in the house. Tanya's in the house. Chevelle. Hello, Brenda. Hello, Brenda. We got a lot of people on tonight. Tom, I think everybody's they're waiting.
People from all over. Someone from Rome. Someone
they know what's going on.
Texas. Yeah, it's
Maureen is here.
This is awesome.
Good to see you, Maureen.
Will's here. Debbie, Shavasto, Sherry. Somebody, Kim Kardashian is disgusting. She isn't up to your standards. I don't want her to be up to my standards. I just want her to lay there for 35 seconds. That's really that's my request. Olivia just walked by. I am in so much trouble. That was the worst moment for her to walk by. I just want her to lay there so I can paint her in a burlesque type setting with charcoals and a nice Chianti. Okay.
Paint me like one of your French girls.
Paint me like one of your French girls. Right, Rose, I would, but your ass won't move over when we're sitting in the lake and freezing our tepids off because you're too fat to share the fucking door. She could have moved, dude.
Wow.
Let me ask you another question. Do you think they might have had lard in the kitchen? Do you think they could have lubed up a little bit? Because putting a layer of lard on probably would have given you an extra, I don't know, 2 hours in the water. I mean, seriously, people, basic things. Just put up grease all over your butt. It's like a wetsuit.
I mean, the ship was so disorganized that there was like, they were sending the lifeboats out with some of them with like no people in it to begin with. So obviously this is not a well-run organization.
How about the string quartet that was running? I would have just knocked his head and grabbed the cello and floated on the cello. I mean,
yeah.
Thanks for playing. Thanks. Really, that's soothing me. Give me your effing cello or I'm going to freaking beat you over the head with this guy's fiddle and violin.
Canoe that bitch to Ireland. Yeah. I
don't understand that show. I really don't. So it's funny you mentioned this. So Richard Nixon, John F. Kennedy and Bill Clinton are on the deck of the Titanic and it's going down. It's sinking. And they're starting to, get everyone together to find out how. They don't have enough boats, right? So how are they going to get off who and what and where and when? And John F. Kennedy goes up first and he goes, well, women and children first. And Richard Nixon says, well, fuck the women and children. And Bill Clinton says, do you think we have time? So
that is just perfect.
Thanks. Appreciate it. I'll be here all week, folks. Thanks. Appreciate it. Well, it's my first time doing sit down.
He's getting in the lifeboat and he's like giving them that.
Like, I have a chocolate chip cookie, children. Why don't you come on over here and sit on Daddy's lap? I'm going to introduce you to a good friend of mine, Jeffrey Epstein. He's fantastic. He's a neck breaker.
You've got that oar is not going to just be used in the water, folks.
All right, this dick isn't going to suck itself, people. Let's get to work. All right, so listen. Tonight's going to be a heavy show. And for anybody who goes, oh, the language, I can't stand this show. Listen, there's two shows. There's the recorded show, which is always PG-13. I'm highbrow. Welcome, Moneypenny, to the Matt Show. Hello. Today we're going to be talking about summer stock with Shakespeare. This is a little bit more whiskey and frickin' dynamite. So we will drop a few bombs. If it offends you, all you have to do is say, hey, Matt, Leroy, Amy, can you stop the cussing? And we won't. We won't, but we'll pretend that we'll stop. Okay.
I try to warn before I cuss.
Yeah, fuck it.
Jeremy says you should do an all impression show. That would be a long show. I do quite a few, surprisingly enough. But anyway, all right. So let's get into this. Paul Pelosi. Was on America's Funniest Home Videos tonight. It wasn't. Listen, let me say something. I told you to stop. Mm-hmm. Now, I see all these memes all the time. I go, oh, I'm out of conspiracy theories because they all came true. You guys are full of shit. Most of your conspiracy theories don't come true. What you do is you get a piece or a snippet of truth that comes out of it, but completely distorted around all these crazy nuanced crap that you deal. That's not truth. Okay. Be careful, because I said, you guys are saying Paul Pelosi's gay. You don't have any proof of that. You're saying that they were both in their underwear. There's no proof of that. Oh, they both had hammers. There's no proof of that. That this guy was a ultra left-wing conspiracy nut. No, the guy was a nutcase, right? And right. Here's the problem. When you start going, oh, well, this guy was his lover, you're defending a nut job. Mm-hmm. I don't care what the window dressing is. I don't care what the nuance is. You're defending a nutter. That should make you question yourself immediately and go, I don't know if I'm on the right side of this whole thing. So we had to wait. Well, you got to see the video. Now, what do you think? Everyone's like, the glass is broken outside the door and it's pushed out. That means it was done on the. You didn't know.
Right.
And you got to see it today. Did you see Paul Pelosi convulsing on the floor? You see that? Did you see the glass of probably alcohol that he was drinking that had ice in it that was all over the floor and broken? Did you see the cuts on his hands? Did you see the guy in a full hoodie and Levi's who wasn't in underwear? Did you see him try to kill Pelosi when the police showed up? Did you see Pelosi open the door? So now that you've seen all that, I would like you on your website to walk it back and apologize and say, I was wrong. Oh, wait, I don't get to do that because I didn't know.
Right.
And I didn't make shit up like everyone else. And this is the problem. And there's a ton of people who did, and I'm not defending the Pelosi's. I don't give a sugar muffin about the Pelosi's. What I care about is bad things can just happen to people. And it's not in order to cover up the midterms. And it's not about secret lovers. That's what we are. It's not always about that. Sometimes it's just bad shit happens to good people. And like Steve Scalise, when the liberals came out and said, oh, it was a Republican plant who shot Steve Scalise to give him sympathy. Those people were abhorrent. And the people who said Paul Pelosi and his gay lover, you're pretty abhorrent too. Okay? I'm going to open it up. Amy, Leroy, go ahead.
I'll say this. I don't care if Paul Pelosi was having a live reenactment of the Rocky Horror Picture Show with his part as Dr. Frankenfurter. I don't give a shit. What I care about is that some lunatic who wasn't supposed to be in the country to begin with broke in and clocked him with a hammer. That, to me, is someone who is depriving somebody or attempting to deprive somebody else of their God-given rights. That's what's important to me.
Yeah.
In this case, the right of life.
Amy?
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I have to say, I loved all the conspiracy theories, though, and I loved all the stories that people were creating. But some of them are really creative and fun. And we love to hate the Pelosi family. I mean, they're easy to. They're just easy to hate and just so much fun to talk about. So yeah, I mean, I don't think any of us ever subscribed to any of the craziness, and we were all were waiting for the details, and now we know.
It's jokes.
Yeah, of course we made jokes because we have to.
Jokes about everything, though.
You get to, we make fun of everyone equally. We're an equal opportunity jokesters. We don't care, but it's just. You guys, that's what I try to tell you is keep your eye. But there were people who were adamant. Matt, Paul Pelosi is in bed with freaking Jeffrey Epstein and the cabal. And I'm just, you people need to stop. Don't you see how bad it is now that we've done that and we're not defending the Pelosi's? Okay. And you listen to his 911 call. Paul Pelosi, with all due respect, was so freaking calm. That I have to admire the moxie on this guy because he crushed that 911 call. I listened to the whole thing and I was like, I don't know if I'd remain that calm, but he placated the guy. He went along with him. He left little clues so 911 would hear he's under duress, and he played the suspect's weaknesses against him. And if you can't see that and go, well, for an old drunk guy, I got to give him credit for that. Now, I'm not endorsing his DUI. I'm not endorsing the embezzlement that his wife and he have done. I'm not defending any of that. I'm just saying, looking at each case individually, Republicans got this one wrong and jumped the gun, and they need to eat some crow on this one. Everybody, including Elon Musk, who also, a lot of people, Donald Trump did too. They all did. And they were wrong. They were dead wrong. They need to walk it back, but they won't. I don't. They won't.
So there's that.
All right. There's one.
Yeah.
There's one. One down. One down, Shanks. One down. All right. Name the movie, Leroy. One down, Shanks. One down.
I don't know that one.
Sleepers. Have you seen Sleepers?
Oh, God, yes.
What a great movie.
Terrifying, actually.
Well, right, but if you're a trauma survivor, it comes through in the end.
Yeah, there's some cathartic. There's some cathartic relief there at the end.
Yeah, well, it's definitely made me feel better. Listen, I don't like Paul Pelosi. I don't like Nancy Pelosi. The final word is that Republicans, and I will admit it too, we all got it wrong. And the reason, and I stood up against it. I fought it. I did the video on it, and I was like, here's his drunk driving. This is pure proof. I waited for the video to come out, and I hit him. This one, I can't even show it because YouTube and Facebook won't let me show it. So I can't show the Paul Pelosi video, which I think it needs to be seen. And every Republican needs to see it and eat a little egg salad on this one. And they really do, because it's horror. It's terrifying. This guy freaking whacks him in the skull with a hammer.
I ever rooted for anybody to break into anybody else's place with a hammer. Right. That within itself is that's an evil act. Don't do it.
Okay. You know, already they're coming out. What's with the videos of the body cam timestamps being different? Okay. Okay. You're going to see a video tonight of 5 police officers literally beat a guy to death.
Yeah.
There's no conspiracy here. There's no conspiracy here. Okay. You got to see Paul Pelosi get whacked with a hammer upside the skull. And I don't care about anything else. Timestamps, listen, you all had VHS recorders. How many times did the date say 0000 on the time and 12/12/2012? I don't know what to tell you.
My VCR said that every day in the 80s for like 10 years.
I don't care. People, it's not CGI. It happened. You can see the medical records. They are open to the public. If everything's a conspiracy, then why do you even watch my show? Because that means I'm a part of it too. There's got to be some truth out there. And we just have to say, you know what? Paul Pelosi was attacked with a hammer. And I don't really care about the rest of the story. It doesn't matter. Even if that was his gay lover, does that mean you condone them hitting him with a hammer? Who cares? Just stop. Because if you trust the police and you say thin blue line, and then when you see something, then they're saying, hey, here it is. And you're like, nope, that's fake.
Right.
It's like, then you're the problem. You're just as bad as liberals. Stop it. Just be like, I was wrong. I made a mistake. With the evidence I have right now, this disproves my theory and I was wrong. And don't do it again. Mm-hmm. How hard is it? Seriously, come on,
folks. What we do on this channel is we examine the facts. We don't necessarily look to say, sometimes we'll say, oh, this person deserves this or deserves that, but it's all based on some examination of facts. Mm-hmm. We're not just going to look at someone because they belong to a party and say, oh, fuck that guy, and then light him on fire. That's not what we do.
No, fuck that guy and fuck her too. I don't like either of them, but in this case,
I'm just turning
right,
that way,
and that's the point.
The rubber meets the road, right? You've got empirical proof of what happened and the 911 call, which has been out a lot longer than the video, and they line up. I don't care if the timestamps aren't right. I don't care. The words you're looking for are I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. Next time I'm going to take more time to wait. It's like it's like the Ron DeSantis video, right? It's like 100,000 away from 1 million views, by the way.
Damn.
100,000 from 1 million views. And people on Twitter, the title says Ron DeSantis. Something says like, he isn't who you think he is, I think is what I put.
Yeah.
Now, that is for two different people. The people who love him and don't know everything about him, because every single person who's watched the video says, wow, I didn't really know all that. That's great. Right. One guy said, I knew most of it. I didn't know his batting average in college. I learned something. Okay. So he's not who you think he is because there's more to him than meets the eye. He's like a transformer. Now, not a transformer. Okay.
I was going to say.
So the second.
Oh.
It's the new.
I got my little transformer out today.
That's the new transformer.
Find that sound effect so that when we play any stories about trans people.
Yeah. I can't even do it. Okay. So here's the deal. The second part of that title is for the people who are calling him a rhino, and he hates Trump, and Democrats hate him. It's for those people. So the title makes sense. It's not a gotcha. He isn't who you think he is. And I thought it was fairly clever. And there's people who are like, how dare you hate on the governor, blah, blah. I'm like, you didn't watch the video, did you? And then you got other people who are like, he's such a rhino. He's such a this. You didn't watch the video. I can't tell you how many times I've had to repost that one statement. Try watching the video before you make judgment. Try getting all the facts before you make judgment. Stop. Don't do a book report on a book you've never read.
Yeah. At least get the Cliff's Notes, obviously.
Right. Okay. All right, here's the heavy duty conversation tonight. And I'm sorry that I'm just bleh, but I have to get it out. I just watched a video. I will not be playing this video at all. I just did a show on this whole thing, and I'm probably the only person who's not playing the video. Dinesh D'Souza, all these guys are salivating to get this out, to get their clicks, to go ahead and play on a tragic death and a tragic result from the police department, who were clearly frustrated. So Amy has not seen it. Leroy has. Leroy, I'd like to get your thoughts, and I'm not playing it, but I'll describe it and tell you kind of what happened. And Leroy, you first. Okay.
So I understood the whole event, the string of events, right? Is that this gentleman, I forget his name, Tyree, yes. He got pulled over for a traffic stop, right? Things escalated, right? And the thing culminates with him getting the virtual shit kicked out of him by at least what I counted was 4 or 5 different cops.
5.
And at one point they had him standing up, and another cop enters the scene, and this dude has his hands, they look like they were already bound at that point, and he just takes a couple of shots directly to the face, and it was so bad that there is no good way to paint this in any light. And it doesn't matter if you are, Blue Lives Matter too. Yes, they do, but they can't do this kind of thing. This was very, very bad. And it took a lot to get through, actually.
So I was in Ventura, California, Amy, and I want to get your thoughts after you hear it, but I went through the whole Rodney King thing personally. Yeah, I wasn't in the car, but I was in California, and maybe this is where I learned it. I think I did a show on this one time of explaining what I saw, and I was in Santa Barbara at the time, and I got to see the full video released, but this is when the media started playing their effing games, right? And then KTL5 got it, and KCOP 13 got it, and then they edited it, and they only showed up to the point where they had him behind the car. They didn't see Rodney King spitting on the cops. He didn't see Rodney King punch 3 of the officers. They didn't see where 6 of them were on top of his ass, and he was dragging them all over the place and throwing cops off. I mean, the guy was PCP'd out of his mind. I don't agree with what happened to Rodney King. It was wrong up until the moment. But when you are wailing on somebody and he's continuing to get up, and these cops are losing 5, 6 against 1, I'm not saying that it's okay. But a man on PCP is a completely different thing than a man off of PCP. Okay. I'm just letting you know. I'm just letting you know. Rodney King was horrible. Everything that happened before, during, and after with Rodney King was horrible. But those cops got their asses kicked by Rodney King, and you never saw any of that. I saw the whole video, all 11 minutes, precluding behind the bumper, behind the vehicle. And it was a very different story when you saw everything. And when that came out, public opinion was like, oh, wait a second. Hold on now. Now, this video, okay, let me explain where it went wrong. They were struck. This guy got out of the car. He obviously was resisting arrest. I don't want to hear anything from anyone. He was resisting. He kept trying to get up. He kept trying to flee. I watched all 6 minutes and 40 some odd seconds. What's out there right now is 1:30. It's the worst parts of the video, but I watched the whole thing.
Right.
And I've watched the officer's body camera, 6 minutes and 40, and I watched the telephone pole, which has a camera, and they recorded it there. I saw both. And I've seen the full thing start to finish. It was actually fairly quick, considering most stops like this and altercations can go 20, 30 minutes. But this was 6.5 minutes roughly. Officer responds to the scene, parks a block or two away, and hauls ass over to the scene. You've got this guy boxed in, assailant's car and 3 other squad cars literally boxing him in, and they're framing the guy.
Right.
He's on the ground. He continues to get up, and I'm sitting here going, man, this guy probably weighs $180, maybe. He's probably 6'3", 6'4", $180, skinny guy. And these cops are all 220, 240, big. I mean, big. And they can't stop this guy. And he continues to keep getting up. And they are on top of him. They're applying holds. They're trying to get his arms. And he keeps saying, okay, like he's going to get, but he doesn't give up. He then cries for his mom. Very heartfelt, right. I understand. But very similar to me to the George Floyd thing. He seemed high as a freaking kite. That's just my gut, okay? I don't know. I don't have any evidence of that. But to me, he seemed under the influence, okay? Because if it was me and I got 5 guys the size of that and they're like, dude, give me your effing hand. At that point, I'm like, oh, here you go.
Right.
Like all of these things, the number one rule that's being broken is comply. Shut up. Don't move. Give them your hands. And comply, because even that will stop most assholes. You might get a wrap upside the head. You might get a PR-24 poked in the back, but you're going to go home more than likely if you just comply and do what you're supposed to do. Now, everything after that was completely a cataclysmic and series of events that led up to this guy's death that are abhorrent, and all 5 of them should spend the rest of their lives in jail. All of them. Forever. With no release. So now that I've said that and I've done the cop thing, I'm going to give you the murder. When they started to mace this guy, the guy who ran up and came from the car took a freaking shot of pepper spray right in his eyes and right in his mouth. And he immediately was like, son of a bitch. And you see him, he's got the body cam on, and he starts running circular patterns around the car, trying to, get his face clear, which it doesn't work.
Right.
And he's pissed, right? And he takes a minute or two. And it's kind of like, and of course it's going to dissipate, especially if you have had it in your face before. Pepper spray sucks, but you're going to get, it's initial shock. You're not going to feel good for a while until you get a solution on your face. But then this is where this guy should have not second-degree murder. At this point, it's not premeditated, but this guy has to spend the rest of his life in prison. Has to. Because he was pissed and he pulls out his PR-24 as a weapon and starts hitting repeatedly, and then, come on, motherfucker. I mean, you hear him. He's like, give me your fucking hand. He is going to hurt this guy. So he whacks him 3 or 4 times on his elbow and arm with a PR-24, most assuredly breaking this guy's arm, most assuredly, with as hard as he was hitting. Starts hitting him upside the back. Then, once they do that, they wrap him up, and they get him locked by both of his arms, but they still can't get his wrists, because this time he's sweating. He's covered in pepper spray. He's slicker than snot. Anybody who's done any apprehension after 1 minute of wrestling around with a guy knows that it is really hard because what?
Matt, just real quick, there's several comments in a row from all over that are basically saying that the video is freezing or locking up.
I don't know. I'm green. Okay, hold on.
I noticed it a little bit too, but
Mhm.
Hold on. And I'm sorry. You know what? Let me do this. Let me close this down. All right. How's that? Okay, let's
seems
let it.
okay. But let's wait for the comments to roll in.
All right, let's let it come in. Seems like people are coming back on. Sorry, I'm going. I'll tell you what a PR24 is. It's a retractable, collapsible baton. That's what it is. I've got one
heavy
right
hitter.
here. I don't know. It's not here. I think it's in my safe. All right, let's make sure we're green lit. Facebook is listen, there's a shite ton of people on. This is huge. It's Friday night and everybody wants to see these videos. So let's just get stabilized and we'll go from there. Let me just check and see if I'm running 5x5.
Yeah, it just locked up a little bit again, just for me, just for a few seconds though.
I'm running at 6,000 kilobytes, 30 frames a second. I have every 2 seconds I'm putting up an interval. It's not me. It's Facebook.
Yeah.
It keeps coming back though. It's better now. Okay. All right. So let me close all windows because I actually had this streaming in 2 places. All right. So let me finish up. So he pulls out a PR24 retractable baton, starts whacking. Okay. Doesn't get him to comply. He's still getting hit. They gave him a face load of pepper spray in his eyes while he was down. I mean, this guy was effed up and he still wasn't giving hands. So they picked him up and they had him like this, both arms in the crook of his arms, and they had him deadlocked like this. So the arms go here, both fists push against the arm. You ain't going anywhere. Even if he tries to flip, he ain't going to pick up 240 pounds from the back position. And they still can't get him. They still can't get him clapped. So at that point, the guy turns and bows him down. And the guy who had the PR24 freaking boom, cold cocks him as hard as he can in the face with a closed fist. They do that 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
This guy then, in my opinion, and I'm not a doctor, but I've been hit enough and I've done enough hitting in my life, they detach his brain from his brainstem gets detached from his head, from his spinal cord. The way they hit him, they either did brain damage that was unrecoverable or they detached his brain from his brainstem because he goes down and starts nonsensically talking. You can't understand him at this point. He has taken so many blows to the face, and I am talking rolling back as hard as you can and just drilling this guy in the face and cold cock him several times.
So
as he
problem
drops.
with that is with that much force that's being applied. I know because you can do this. You can easily kill somebody with one punch. That's not as hard as it sounds. And so
they
with
were hitting him in the temple, right here.
Yeah,
they're right here.
Terrible.
It in my opinion, every single one of them are accessory to murders. The guy that was doing the striking and the multiple strikes to the face and head, that person needs to spend the rest of his life in prison. And I don't care what happened before that video, because I saw most of it, and I did not see after the point where he was on the ground. We don't know what happened. He may have fired at the cops. He could have come out, said some things. This wasn't racially motivated, but it doesn't matter.
No. All of the cops. I mean, we can say it, right? I mean,
yeah, I did.
They were black. So I obviously it was not racially motivated.
Yeah.
But the left is selling it like it is, right? The left is saying, oh, well, there can be black racists, right? Listen, black people can be racist against black people, but black people can't be racist against white people, right? So, and blacks can be racist against other blacks. But see, this is the whole bullshit, is that we've muddied the line so much. This is plain and simple, really cut and dry. This was mob mentality.
Mm-hmm.
One guy goes off and everyone joins in. If I was on that, I don't care how, I would have said, dude, you hit him one more time and you and I are going at it. You put one more finger on this suspect, and you and I are going to go after, and I'm going to shoot your ass. This man, we are trying to get him in custody. We're not trying to kill him. Yeah, these guys need to go to jail. And I'm not that guy. I don't freaking jump the gun. I've seen the video. I've seen a 35-foot look at it from a light pole.
Right.
And I've seen it on the ground, and both stories tell the same thing.
Yeah. Oof. I don't want to watch it. So I'm glad we're not playing it. That's why I asked before we came on. Like, I'm just, I don't like to see these things. I'm sure I'm going to be forced to watch at some point. It's just horrible to watch that. I honestly really disagree with media playing it anyway. I think it's for a judge to see people in a courtroom. I don't think this is something that needs to be out there for everyone to talk about and to fuel the flames of all of the craziness in our country is so torn apart now. It's been this way for so long. I think this is just going to make it worse. I mean, I'm sure Matt has heard the same things I've heard today. I mean, so many people were called up today because there's so many threats of riots everywhere. And I think every single person on the police force is on duty, no matter if they're off or not. They're all here. And we live in a quiet area. So it's not, this is happening everywhere across the country. And we live so close to DC. I know every DC cop is in DC. It's scary. And we, of course, we want to support our brothers and sisters in blue. We care about them, but there needs to be something. I mean, yeah, these people need to pay for what they've done. Right. It sounds horrible. I mean, murder is murder. And this wasn't a freak accident. This was a deliberate. It sounds like it was deliberate, and it wasn't like, oh my gosh, this person happened to die. They had a heart attack or something. This is not a freak accident.
Unexpectedly.
Right.
But they're saying that he died from internal bleeding, possibly. Listen, his spleen, his liver, his kidneys, this guy would have been pissing blood for a month. There's no doubt in my mind. This guy was nothing. He, like 180 probably was too good. Maybe 140, 160, maybe. I mean, guys, I'm not exaggerating. Look at him, man. And he's not a thug. He's a good looking kid, man. And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, he's innocent and all, he's guilty. I don't know what happened, but.
Well, that's the fact. That's the point. We don't know.
Right. I think that cop got pissed for getting pepper sprayed. He got sick of it and said, I'm going to G.I. Joe this and I'm going to end this shit. But see, this is and those guys were probably gang unit cops. There's no doubt in my mind. They've probably seen some tumultuous shit. They have seen things and done things that are incredible. And I don't want people to think that I'm going against cops here. In the video that I did tonight, and we're going to watch it because honestly, I want everyone to see it because I try to break down all the sides here and really dive into what's missing. And what's missing is not to defend these cops, but they're outnumbered, they're outgunned. Their insurance isn't nearly half as good as the people who are sucking off the government's tit and getting subsidies and free health care. These cops don't have the mental care that they need. It's shunned in the police department. Most of them ride a desk if they go ahead and try to see a counselor or a psychologist that aren't involved in a shooting. This shit's serious, man. A lot of these guys face blows to the head. The constant stress can impact PTS and TBIs. Some of the cops that have been facing these riots were going in 3 or 4 times a day into these riots, doing 12-hour shifts and facing firework explosions, head trauma, water bottles to the head. I mean, this is some serious shit. But it still doesn't result in the senseless. This is the one that the left, no matter what bullshit they say about this, and they're going to spin it every way they can. This was abhorrent. They don't deserve to riot, but this one they're going to get right because this one is bad, and it deserves to be discussed. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So, are we assuming then that there will in fact be riots? I mean, that's That's probably the first and most
I'm not
obvious
assuming.
question.
I'm almost positive. Well, it's 9:00. Let's find out.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And it should be. I mean, even before we take a look at any videos, right? I mean, we all need to kind of acknowledge that we know that 99.95% of all cops do their job correctly, that they're
Right.
good people,
Right.
right? We
Right.
understand that. It's just that every now and then, and this is why we have these cameras, every now and then something like this happens, right? And we end up seeing, just the other side of this coin where I mean, a couple of the dummies are making comments that these cops were part of something called the Scorpion Unit. To Matt's point, this is a gang. These are cops that are used to dealing with we can say criminals that are a lot more violent.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we're dealing with a kid who's put in a shitty situation, he gets pulled over. I don't know how the hell he ended up with pepper spray, but spraying a cop down.
No.
with
The cop inadvertently
Sprayed
sprayed
him?
it. And the other, listen, pepper. It's like a hand grenade, dude. It's about
Yeah.
as accurate as a hand grenade.
Yeah. Well, and I guess my point is that, whatever the resistance that came from the victim here, that the cops took it way too far and ended up killing the guy, and they need to be held accountable. 100%.
Not all
Yeah.
cops are good cops.
Right.
But
No.
in the same light, I want to watch this video. I want context. Tell me to pause it wherever we want to. People say we're kind of, freezing a little bit. Well, that's to be expected. Tonight, everybody's on live. Everybody's streaming. We know this. Our numbers went freaking, fairly quickly up. But I want to watch this because I think the message is a good one. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
And writing this, it was not as difficult as I thought it was going to be. Because here's what it comes down to. Folks, the people who say, "Oh, America, it's all based on slavery and it's white
It's not.
and it's the white patriarch is the problem and toxic masculine." There has to be a day where that ends.
Mm-hmm.
No. And let me, I would take it.
Hold on,
I would
can
take
finish-
it one step
can I
further.
finish
than
that thought?
Matt.
Lyra, can I
Yeah,
finish that
sorry.
thought? Is that it has to be a day where that ends, just like slavery or civil rights. It's gotten better, right? It's not perfect. It never will be, but it's gotten better. The same thing has to be said when you compare America or you compare the Klan or you look at Japanese internment camps, that we learn as a society and progress. And if you keep continuing to say that the left and BLM was pigs in a blanket, frying like bacon, and all those things happen. $2.5 billion in debt. Right, I get it. But if these protests tonight are in check and they don't freaking turn into a riot and they control themselves and they grab those people who want to start shit and stop them, because I'm telling you, there were plenty of BLM protests that were absolutely peaceful, hundreds of them, and there were hundreds that weren't. But if they do, then every single person in America, especially Republicans, need to stop and rally fucking behind this tonight and say,
Yeah.
we admonish this 100% with no equivocation. And if you don't, then you're a fucking hypocrite. Leroy, go ahead.
Right.
What I was going to say, the moment you said toxic masculinity, that just made me think that's not what this is.
Right.
Because if they were men, then they wouldn't be beating somebody who couldn't fight back because that
That's right.
person was restrained.
Yeah.
That's not what men do.
And,
Men would
yes.
not have taken it that far. A real man would have stepped in and said, "Nope, this is enough."
Mm-hmm.
He we are now responsible for this young man's life, and I'm not going to
Right.
take it.
Right. And just to add to that point, and I see a lot of comments talking about, there's a lot of bad cops, and there are a lot of bad cops, that I hope there's more good ones. And I know for a fact the deputies that I know personally, and they have been kind enough to share some things with me that they don't share with anybody, and they don't get the support that they need. I mean, they literally can have to be on a murder scene and then go run traffic 2 hours later, and they don't get to go talk to somebody and deal with that ever. They don't have, a therapist on hand or somebody to help them through this. And then they go home to their family where their family doesn't want to hear, their husbands and wives and kids. They don't want to hear about the devastation that they had to deal with that day. So they literally internalize all of it. And I'm not saying that's an excuse to then act out with this kind of aggression, but the good cops are able to somewhat handle it. But we need to be there for these people. They're putting their lives at risk for us every day, and we are lumping them all into one category, which is not the case.
That's
and
correct.
I'm not defending this in any way. None of us are, but there needs to be some resolution, and we need to start with the people who are there to protect us. And what do you need to do better?
Chav, you're really fucking annoying me tonight. So why don't you log off before you don't get to come on anymore? I'm sick of your shit, dude. Shut up. Fuck. It's just some nights, dude, he doesn't take his meds, dude. It's just ridiculous. I mean, and why is it always the most serious? And it's the nights that just, it's not the time. It's not the fucking time, man.
He doesn't know how to deal with.
Just shut up. Shut the fuck up, please. God, can't stand you sometimes, man. It's not the night, dude. Just you're the guy that goes in and someone's like, dude, my mom has cancer. He's like, oh, let me tell you about this really funny one. A Jew and a rabbi and a Catholic priest all have cancer, and they go into a bar. Dude, what the fuck?
Right.
Know your audience. Know the time. This isn't the time.
Know how to read a room, bada.
I tell you what. I mean, seriously, I apologize for using the language, but gosh darn it, shut it. All right, we're gonna play this, and listen. I want your feedback. I want to hear what your thoughts are. I mean, I could be way off, right? And if you disagree, you disagree. It's totally fine. I get it. I understand it. But we've got to also. This is an opportunity. Listen, I don't think this is the opportunity where we get to all say, oh, this is kumbaya, and we can all heal from this. And let's go ahead. Good evening, Don't Unfriend Me Nation. Let's go ahead and rally around feeling good, and this can help us as Americans come together. I don't buy all that crap. But maybe this is a time to extend an olive branch by saying, I'm not going to make jokes. I'm not going to make a meme that's shitty. I'm not going to try to get likes off of this. What I'm going to say is, from what I've seen so far, I completely vehemently find this abhorrent, out of character for police, and 100% a travesty that this took place. I'm in your corner. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with saying that? I called for it on January 6th for at least people to say, yeah, same thing with January 6th. Hey, I don't know what happened. I don't know who did it. All I know is that I don't want to have anything to do with what took place, and that is not me. It's not what I believe in. That's all he had to say. But no, we had to go ahead and talk about Ray Epps. We had to go and talk about the FBI and Pelosi. Come on.
No, because at that point it was already made political. I remember the day that happened when I came home, and my number one fan was standing in my living room, and she was like, "Can you believe this?" And she's looking at me like look at these Republicans doing this, and I'm like, well, I don't know that that's who that is, but I mean, obviously these people are angry, right? And I just kind of left it at that.
Right.
I don't know anything beyond that. And obviously they're angry, otherwise they wouldn't be committing violence.
Yeah. All right. Let's do this. Let's watch. No, not anyway. It's all good. I'm going to leave us up here. I'm going to dim the lights because everyone goes, why is there two mats? I don't understand what's going on. Ambiance. Yeah. Silky smooth. Yeah. All right. Let's give it a watch. Any comments? I'd love to hear them. 433 of the Don't Unfriend Me show / Breaking Truth. My name is Matthew Spear. I am the host of Don't Unfriend Me, and I am going to talk to you about something a little sensitive. It seems it's the day of tapes and release. The Paul Pelosi video was released. How many of you ate crow? I told you, wait till all the facts are out. And this next one is also the same. You're seeing a lot of the same reaction. There's threats of riots happening all over the city and all over the United States due to 5 African-American police officers beating an accused African-American who was unarmed. Now, I wasn't there. I don't know much of the story other than what I've read, and I am holding off making assumptions. What I'm going to do is take the past and tell you what we can expect in the future. And there are 2 sides to every story. Let's cover them tonight. I'll be right back after this message from Judge Janine.
Hi, and that you call those people
Are very close to about 13. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. I didn't expect all of that from Judge Janine, but I'm going to play it because, well, it's kind of cool. Once again, we're going to cover this topic, and I think it's important to try to gain perspective on both sides of what took place, what happened, and then once again, not to react, but to anticipate how people are going to react. Memphis braced for public outrage tonight after it released video of 5 police officers, which we are very close to, about 13 minutes away. So when you watch this, it'll be posthumously from the event. Those police officers are now charged with murder, as I said earlier, in a traffic stop that authorities say resulted in the brutal beating and death of Tyree Nichols, a 29-year-old black man. Officials who have viewed the video said it is deeply disturbing, but few details have yet been made public about what it contains. I think we can gather from the comments. Nichols died in the hospital 3 days after the January 7th encounter with the 5 black police officers. Once again, no matter where I went, no matter how often I read, the color was always placed before the victim or the person accused of, not stopping during a traffic stop and these 5 officers. It's racial before it even gets started. They've been charged with second-degree murder, assault, kidnapping, official misconduct, and official oppression, and fired from their jobs. Justice has begun in the eyes of some people, but the ongoing crime has just begun in this story. Let me tell you a story that you have heard endless times before, but here is a little different perspective. It was a hot summer day in the city when the news broke that a young black man had been shot and killed by the police. The community was in shock and anger, and soon word spread that a protest was planned for that evening. As the sun set and the streets filled with people, the mood was tense. Some carried signs with slogans demanding justice, while others wore bandanas to conceal their identities. The police were also out in full force, lined up in their riot gear. At first, the protest was peaceful. People marched and chanted, calling for an end to police brutality and racial injustice, and the other side of the thin blue line hoped that nothing violent would pass. But as the night went on, a small group of individuals began to break away from the main group. Their anger and frustration boiling over, they started to throw bottles and bricks at the police, and soon the others were involved. The peaceful protest devolved into chaos, as so many do. The police responded with tear gas and rubber bullets, trying to regain control of the situation, but the riots continued to spread, with people looting and setting buildings on fire. The streets were filled with a sound of breaking glass and sirens as the community was torn apart by violence yet again. As the night went on, it became clear that the riots were doing more harm than good. Businesses that had been owned and operated by members of the community for generations were destroyed, leaving people without jobs or a source of income. Emergency services were overwhelmed, making it difficult for people who were injured or trapped to get the help they needed. And the relationship between the community and the police, already strained, was damaged even further. The next day, as the smoke cleared and the streets were cleaned up, the community was left to pick up the pieces, as they always were. People were left to grieve for the young man whose death had sparked the riots, as well as for the community that had been destroyed in the chaos. Yet nobody mourns for the police. The riots may have been a way for some individuals to what they consider express their anger and frustration, but in the end, they only served to further harm their community. They did not bring justice for the young man who had been killed, and they did not solve the underlying issues of racial injustice and police brutality, if that is truly what they are fighting for. Instead, they left a trail of destruction and hurt in their wake. It's important to remember that peaceful protests are legal and protected under the First Amendment, but riots are not. When riots occur, it's not just the people involved in the riot, but the entire community and the nation that suffers. The violence and destruction caused by riots can lead to economic harm, infrastructure damage, and can also damage the relationships between the community and the police, as we've seen. It can also detract from the message that peaceful protesters are trying to send, making it harder for the public to understand and support their cause. I'm confident that people will bring up January 6th and try to play whataboutism with this, or some other people might talk about BLM. That's not the point. The point is, no matter what, peaceful protests are what it's all about. And violence is not a form of protest. Period. Full stop. These issues that lead to police shootings and racial injustice are very complex and deeply rooted in larger societal issues. These issues cannot be solved through riots or violence, but instead require a commitment to systemic change and ongoing dialogue from both sides. The community must come together and find ways to peacefully demand justice and make real change. But there is the other side, a side that is often not told. It's not only change in these communities, but somebody needs to help the officers. During riots, police officers are at a high risk of injury. The violent and chaotic nature of riots can lead to officers being physically assaulted, hit with projectiles, fireworks, losing fingers, hearing, sight, and exposed to tear gas and other forms of crowd control as they are thrown back at them, whether you agree or not. In addition, officers may also be injured while trying to arrest rioters or while responding to incidents of looting and arson. The injuries sustained by officers during riots can range from minor cuts and bruises to more serious injuries, such as broken bones, head injuries, and even death. These injuries can have a significant impact on the health and well-being of the officers involved, as well as on their families and communities. Furthermore, the stress of dealing with riots can also have long-term psychological effects on the officers, leading to high rates of post-traumatic stress and other mental health issues. This can make it difficult for officers to return to work and can negatively impact their overall quality of life, let alone the communities that desperately need them. It's important to note that the officers that get injured in riots are not only physically hurt, but also mentally and emotionally. They're also put in a position where they are trying to keep the peace, but also protect themselves and their fellow officers from harm. And unless you've done the job, it's very difficult to understand. Police officers are at an increased risk of suicide and mental health issues due to the nature of their work. They are exposed to high levels of stress and trauma on a regular basis, including dealing with violence, death, and the traumatic events. This can lead to conditions such as depression and anxiety, and like I said earlier, PTS. Research has shown that police officers have a higher rate of suicide compared to the general population. The suicide rate among police officers is estimated to be 17 per 100,000, which is higher than the national average of 13 per 100,000 for the general population. The factors that contribute to the high rate of police suicide include the following: exposure to traumatic events on a regular basis, lack of support and resources for mental health and well-being, stigmas associated with seeking help for mental health issues, high pressure and high stress work environments, long working hours in shift work, let alone the equipment that the officers have to maintain, and the overall cost and work that takes is a job in itself. These conditions can lead to a range of negative outcomes, including difficulty sleeping, problems with concentration, and increased risk of alcohol and substance abuse. Respecting the police is important for maintaining a safe and orderly society. Police officers play a vital role in maintaining law and order, protecting citizens, and keeping communities safe. They are often called upon to make difficult and sometimes often dangerous decisions in order to keep the peace and protect the public. Respecting police officers means recognizing the difficulty and often dangerous work that they do and being grateful for their service and understanding the ebbs and flows of their routine. It also means treating them with dignity and courtesy and being willing to listen to their perspectives and understand the challenges. When citizens respect the police, it helps to build trust and cooperation between the community and law enforcement. And this can lead to a safer and more just society where everyone feels protected and respected, except for those that don't. Because no matter what we do, or what we say, or how much training is involved, or how much we get involved into the inner cities or places where crime isn't as common, there's still going to be travesty. There's still going to be mistakes, and nothing will stop that. It's important to note that respecting police does not mean blindly accepting or condoning all actions taken by them. It means acknowledging the difficulty and dangerous work they do and having a willingness to work together to address issues when they arise, versus making it even harder. Moreover, it is important to know that every story has two sides. Different perspectives and experiences can lead to different versions of the same event. This is especially true when it comes to controversial or emotional charged issues, such as police shootings, riots, or police misconduct. It's important to consider and understand multiple perspectives in order to gain a complete and accurate understanding of a situation. This can help to prevent misunderstandings and promote constructive dialogue. Too often, we receive partial truths and only highly reactive parts of one story. We make our judgments and we assume that we know the answers when we don't and couldn't possibly. Tonight, there are cities all over the country awaiting riots that are almost certainly going to happen. The question is, to what end? Surely the people rioting understand that it will just increase tensions and danger, and the police also understand that the ones trying to do their job are often impacted the hardest by those that don't. The thing we need less of is not the impartial truths, but impartial patience and understanding. That is commonly replaced with anger and downright loathing. America will not be a better place tomorrow until we address our outcomes, our initiatives, and our own personal ownership on the results today. Not that my voice means anything. I encourage that people start dialogue. Rioting is never the answer. I have a feeling it'll fall on deaf ears. Folks, if you enjoyed... Anyway, so that's it.
Excellent. Yeah, that was excellent.
Excellent video.
That one took a while. I'm so sick of the... Does anyone just feel like we're constantly in just a Groundhog Day? It's just the same.
A little bit, yeah.
It's a constant stress. Like every day is like a stress-induced circus.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
I would say this too, and you touched on this quite a bit, and I just don't think it could be overemphasized enough, is that peaceful protests in support of the families and the victims, completely understand. God love you. I would be out there with you. But the moment a brick is thrown, it changes the dynamic and the crowd mentality. Just with one simple act, it changes the entire view of what the American public and what the police see in terms of peaceful protest. The first time that brick is thrown, now it's not. Now it's a riot. Largely, that's how it would be viewed, and so we have to make sure that was really foot stomped. The moment it turns violent, then really, what are you protesting? I mean, at that point, right? You're saying we don't want violence. For the victims of these families, right? We're condoning violence. We don't want violence. We're condemning violence, right? And how are we going to do that?
By being violent.
By doing other acts of violence. And
Right.
so you understand that there's a bit of a hypocrisy there that we on this channel don't want to see happen.
Right.
I am empathetic to the messaging, but we have to make sure that it remains peaceful.
Yeah, it's got to be. I'm trying to think. I'm someone who is supportive of our first responders, our police officers, our military. So I don't have the mindset of someone who is avidly against those groups of people and who just hates the police or is always out to protest against them or looking for these kinds of stories. But I can't. I would have to imagine someone who feels that way has got to be boiling over, because you do see the news. It's constantly stories about police brutality and the police messing up, or they shot the wrong person or misfired a weapon or arrested the wrong person, or it's these constant stories about the bad that's happening. And I can't imagine how someone who has that mindset of like, oh, I hate them anyway, this is not, this is, we got to change this world. I'm sure their frustration is hard to contain. And although we can sit here and say, you shouldn't be doing this, you're two wrongs don't make a right. Like, we can't fight violence with more violence. It's not,
Right.
you're not going to combat anything. You're only going to create more problems. You're only going to make our country worse. But I think it's going to fall on deaf ears
Yeah,
until
that's the problem.
Well, that's the fear anyway.
Yeah.
Well, listen, there's people who are like, some guy, why are you talking? There's no riots going on. It's 9:40 on the East Coast. Give it time. Because the one thing that you can guarantee on a long enough timeline is people will disappoint you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that Memphis is going to be the issue. There's going to be people who are going to use this as an excuse to do exactly what I just said in that video. And if it's not tonight, it's tomorrow. And if it's not tomorrow, it's next month. And if it's not, this is what happens. It's a reoccurring thing. And usually these things happen in threes. And by the time you get to it, like if there's a next one that happens, that's when the top comes off.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, if people just really slowed down and stop looking at singular events to dictate what they think is systemic, we'd be a much better world. Just like shooters.
Think about how that gets perceived too. Something tragic happens, i.e., just like in this case, right? Some peaceful gathering of protesters, rightfully so, is observed. Sure, okay. Maybe some bad actors eventually show up on scene, right? Somebody throws a brick. Next thing you know, a day and a half of riots and fires are abound. And then the next thing you know, you catch on Fox TV, because CNN certainly wouldn't show it, that somebody is walking out the front of a store with a giant TV in their hand going, this is social justice. And that's not how it's supposed to work. And so we have to be, and that's the normal chain of events, right? And that's what we're saying is let's stop it. We can stop all of that from happening just by holding back on the violence.
Social justice is a myth.
Yeah.
Don't I know it?
Folks, there's no such thing, because there will always be injustices. And here's how I know. Because if you raise the minimum wage to $15, inflation goes up, and ultimately you go back down to 12. There's always going to be a minority and there's always going to be a majority. That's the way it works. There's no such thing as equality in the very essence of its own right. Equality is not based upon the collective. It's on the individual's perception. And people are always going to feel unequal depending upon who or what they're looking at. So for an example, when I compare my Johnson to Leroy, I'm John Holmes. But when I compare it to a donkey, I hardly get in the door. Perspective. My bank account might be great to somebody who's 18 who works at McDonald's. But if I compare it to Donald Trump or Bill Gates, they literally make what I make in a year in 7 seconds. There's always going to be inequality. It's how you handle and process it. And if you constantly say, well, I don't have the advantages that guy has, you're right. You're right. You don't.
Right.
So you're going to have to go ahead and do something else other than inherit $1 million from your daddy and make your own business. You might have to learn a trade. You might have to learn a skill set. But the great thing is that once you do that, it's inherent, which means that your children will be better off than you were, because you've created something for yourself, and they won't have to look over the fence and say, geez, I'm not equal to that guy. Maybe they're more and above that person that you looked at. That's the whole point. That's the American dream, is to constantly progress and move forward and to create some sort of foundation for your family. And the patriarch and matriarch, that's the goal. But if you sit here and constantly say, oh, well, when's my time going to come? Never. Especially if you rely on the government or taxes or some sort of program to get you there, because that is based on keeping people in mediocrity. And meritocracy is the only way to be successful. Go ahead, Amy.
Absolutely.
To your point, my big problem with this, besides the obvious attack on this young man, but one of my biggest problems with the police chief and how it was handled it was almost like, hey, get your popcorn and we're going to have a release party. I really think that this is also a huge problem. I am all for reporting on the facts of the events and showing what is necessary, but to build this up as like, everybody gather around your computers and TVs, and I don't know what time they released it. I already decided I was going to watch it.
It's ridiculous. On a Friday night, on prime time, you release this video. You know what I would have done? I would have released it at 9 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday.
I wouldn't have released it at all.
You have to release it. You have to, because then they riot and say they're trying to cover something up. They fucking put these 5 guys, they fired them and charged them with murder, and people still aren't happy. Justice happened. Justice has, whatever you're fighting for, justice happened. And do you think that these officers are going to walk? You're insane. These officers will not walk. In fact, most of these cases now, even when the officers didn't do anything wrong, they're getting put in prison. That's the facts.
For years and years and years, society has been demanding, that all of the police have body cams, and so now that most of them do, if you didn't release it, then there would be this accusatory look. You're not providing transparency to the situation, so they absolutely have to release it, as horrible as it is.
There should be transparency in the court of law. That's what I'm saying. A judge, the attorneys, the people prosecuting are the ones who need to see it. And unfortunately, there's such a mistrust in our system. The Joe Schmo is demanding to see this video, even though it's going to bring zero good to your life.
People that are in the halls of justice are in fear of the people that run justice in the streets.
That's perfect. That quote it, stamp it, put it on a Hallmark card right there. Right, say it again. Can you say that again? I do it too. I just and I forget what I say, but can you say it?
Sure. The people. All right. How did I say that? All right, dummies. Somebody's going to have to go back about 20 seconds on that one.
The people in justice are afraid of the people, the justice in the streets.
Yeah. The people that run justice in the halls of justice are in fear of the people that want to run justice in the streets. Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. It needs to be a meme, because that's the truth. That's why we have progressive laws. That's why we have these progressive DAs that are letting people out for things that ultimately they should be in prison for. Listen, I don't know what it's like to be black. And honestly, I think the first step is white people saying the following: I don't want to, and not being ashamed of saying that.
Yeah.
Because I've asked this, thanks buddy, I love you. I've asked this question on this show before, and everyone answered. I said, if you had a chance for a day to be an astronaut, would you? And oh yeah. If you had a chance to be a sea captain, would you? Yeah, of course I would. If you had a chance to be a woman for a day, would you? Yeah. Oh, I would want to know. I'd never leave the bedroom, but I would want to know. Now, would you like to be black for a day?
I think that would depend on the person, right?
No, fuck that. No human being can open. Okay, would you like to be black for a year?
You wouldn't say you'd be Idris Elba for a day?
No.
Oh,
Morgan
because
Freeman.
I would.
Because I'll be honest with you. I believe it would be such a fucking shock and such a wake-up call that I would not effectively be able to convey it to somebody unless they went through the exact same thing I did. Because I will tell you, I have had a glimpse of what friends have had to go through, and it's not cool, man. And it's everywhere. But people won't admit it. And I'm not, now, when I clearly say this, I'm not saying there's systemic racism. I'm saying racism is everywhere. And it's not just
At
white on black.
level,
Yeah, and it's black on white too. I mean, it's all over the place. But what I'm saying is that there are certain things that African Americans have to do that white people never will. And there's things that they have to, like, if I go into a black
lotion?
neighborhood,
Like body lotion?
dude, come on, bro.
I'm kidding.
You're just screaming, I don't have any black friends.
Actually, I do. But
well, then you should know, because I've seen in retail a woman try to write a check who's white, and it bounces, versus a black woman and it bounces, and what happens and the treatment. I've seen when a black person walks in who's wearing a parka because it's the latest and fad in the middle of summer, and how they're looked at by security. I've seen how parents react to a white girl bringing home a black kid. If you think it's still not out there, it is. Now, it's not crosses and lynchings and things like it used to be, but it's still there and it's still inherent. And the reason why is because we don't fucking stop talking about it. It's literally on everybody's lips every single day because the media won't stop talking about it. And these poor disenfranchised people in these inner cities believe that it's the white elite Republicans causing these problems, and it's not.
No.
The cops aren't in these cities Republican cops. Does everyone realize that?
Right.
These are more than likely liberal cops who came from these neighborhoods, and they're saying this shit needs to stop. No matter how you cut this was not perpetrated by the white man. And I'm afraid that's what it's going to be broken down to, because that's the narrative. It's insane. Ignoring racism won't make it go away. Amanda, how in the fuck did I say ignoring racism won't make it go away? God, I just don't understand.
That also raises a really good point, Matt, which is because this was, five black cops with a black victim. What does that say then if there are no riots? What does that say if, how can I put this? What if, how can that be analyzed in terms of, well, because this was a black victim, but committed by black cops, how would that be perceived then? Like, well, I'll say it this way. You won't see Al Sharpton down there, right?
No.
That won't be a thing.
No,
right.
He'll stand up on his tower and do a press conference and tell people peacefully protest.
Right.
Right.
And then when he gets off camera, hey, come here. Mm-hmm. Here's 100. Here's 1,000. Here's some bricks. Here, go see what you can do with the bricks. Listen, I want to address a couple things. Christine says, what does that mean? Does that mean that most people see, here's the fucking manufactured outrage coming. Does that mean that most people believe all black people are poor and live in the projects? No, that's what you believe. That's what you believe. Exactly. No, Christine, that's what you believe. Because you're the fucking one who said it. Mm-hmm. Nobody here said that. You said that. That's what you believe, that all black people are poor and live in projects. That's why you don't want to be black. Yeah. Or that's why you think I don't want to be black. I didn't say I would be ashamed to be black. I would have gone through everything that every African-American. I'm well aware, and so I have enough self-awareness to know what the African-American community go through, to know that I wouldn't want to experience that in particular.
I will say, we talked about it before. I answered no, I would not want to be. I think at this point in my life, I changed my mind. I would, for a day, I would like to relate better, and I would do it for a day.
The point is that if you would have to stop and go, I don't know, then there's something we're not addressing.
Yeah.
Don't you get it? It's not about the color of your skin. It's the way that you would be treated in society. And
Right.
I know that I don't have the patience or tolerance. And the moment that somebody said something under their breath or the way that they treated me, I would remember my friends and I would flip the shite out.
Yeah.
Listen, we can't pretend. And Amanda, although everything she says when she comes in always pisses me off, we can't pretend that racism doesn't exist. Yes, but we can also, we can stop pretending that it literally what it once was and stops people from being able to have a happy life.
Yeah.
My point is, it's a question. It's never going to happen. There is no soul man. You can't take some pills and all of a sudden perm your hair and be black like C. Thomas Howell.
Yeah.
But if you have to ask yourself that question and be honest with yourself, if there's any hesitancy, then there's some things that you need to address.
Yeah. You know, that raises
Christine,
another really good point.
Christine, real quick. Christine, I don't need you to apologize. I need you to be conscientious that I never said those words. And when you ask a question of the show, you're asking Leroy, Amy, or myself, and none of us said that. I don't think all black people are poor. When the hell did I ever say that? There's more white poverty than black poverty. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Leroy, go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted.
No. What you were saying got my gears going a little bit, and that just made me wonder, will racism at a personal level, will it ever come to an end? Or
no.
And is that something that is just inherent in the way our society is built, i.e. the differences between people and how some people need to point out those differences? What I mean by that is, will you always have, let's say a couple has a baby, right? Baby makes it to 2-3 years old. At some point, the kid's going to ask questions. Hey, why is that person darker than I am? And so because of those conversations and because of that, because there are differences between us, right? Should those conversations ever stop about those differences between us? And that doesn't mean that it's racist by nature, I suppose. But I
Yeah.
mean, it's a really good question to ask. Is that something that could ever come to an end in our culture? I
Well,
don't know.
can I just talk from personal experience, because Jason is obviously a lot darker than me and my kids and my daughter, because she's 6. She talks about, Jason has brown eyes, he has brown skin. She paints him, darker and color, because but she's 6. There's no, obviously we're not racist. He's our family. I mean, he's basically their stepdad. He's raising them, and he has a good heart and good values, and he's an upstanding. I mean, Matt knows him. He's a phenomenal human being. So kids are going to notice differences, but we don't. It's never been a big deal. It's like, yeah, he's brown. He's darker than, yeah, like he's,
Right.
It's not like, oh, that's weird. It's just like, yeah, he is brown. He's got brown eyes. He's got brown skin. He's got a great tan, 365, and we're all pasty and pale and would love to be a little bit like that.
It's not about that. It's that there's cultural differences. I wouldn't even know how to act. I wouldn't even know where to start in that process. And once we recognize that it's not the skin color that makes us different, it's our experiences.
Culture.
Yeah.
It's just that's it. It's experiences. And that's why when someone said, "Well, would you want to trade places with a black guy for a day?" Well, first of all, it's never going to happen. But second, even if it did, I wouldn't even. It would do no good, because I wouldn't even be able to conceptualize, because I've never lived through the experiences that they have, and they've never lived through what I've had. And I think it's okay for us to say that it's not about color, it's about individual experience. And that's what we talk about in the Constitution. It's what we talk about in the Bill of Rights. That's it.
Your line for the show.
Yeah.
It's not about color, it's about culture.
That's it. It's what it's all about. Christine, things get lost in text, okay? This is a highly sensitive topic. Okay. I've had to deal with a couple of fucktards in this show tonight, and I'm not the guy to tolerate that. So your question came off to me, and this is the problem, is I can't always see all the comments, and I don't know if you're replying. I don't know if you're asking me. It came off that you were saying with what I was saying that I don't necessarily want to trade with a black person for one day and be black for a day, because I recognize my own inequities. Is
I took it that same
you're
way.
saying is the reason why is because they're poor and live in poverty? No.
Right.
No, that's not what I said. So I don't know anyone else who said it. I've been reading chat too. I'm the only one that said no. Amy said yes. Leroy said, you don't think he wants to have sex with Idris Elba. Of course he wants to be black.
Wow.
You said he was your man crush. Is that not true?
Aw.
All right, then
Dude,
there you
it's
go.
his voice. Oh, God.
See, here we go. So
Yeah.
Booking Dawn. Yeah.
okay, whatever. You see, it just, listen, if you can't be self-aware enough to know, would you want to go to Indonesia, French Polynesia for a day? Would you want to be like thrown into one of the tribes in the Amazon and just for a day? No. And if you do, good for you. Oh my God. Why? You want to literally be a cannibal?
Not, I mean, I could go a day without eating, so I wouldn't need, I grew up, my parents would take us on like immersive vacations where we would, I mean, always generally always in the United States, we would go stay on like an Indian reservation and live with them and cook with them on rocks and sleep in, like literally
that's not the same
for a couple
thing.
days. I know.
Not the
Well,
same thing.
it wasn't like a traditional vacation like you have it now, like an experience vacation. My dad was just like, you're going to learn about the real United States. And we would do things like, now it's like an experience vacation. I'm not talking about like a fun, like, oh, you stay in a 5-star hotel and you get breakfast, or you get up in the morning, you do what they do, you learn about their religions, their cultures. And, as Catholics, like, that's kind of like risque to like be open to that. But
That reminds me, because of that special that I've been trying to share with you, Amy, that Matt Walsh special called "What Is a Woman." He actually does go to Africa and discusses that with one of the groups there. So
right.
I'll
Yeah.
have to
I'm
make
just,
sure.
yeah.
Please
I
remind
need
me to send it to you
I
later.
need to figure it out. I know. I am the most tech challenged person ever.
Don't worry about it.
Ever.
I listen, fucktard is listen, that's
a technical term.
I coined that phrase. That's a military term. I don't like saying libtard and all that stuff, but there are fucktards. So I'm sorry. That's just the way it works.
Absolutely.
I don't think I'm conveying myself effectively. It's not because I don't want to be black, because I have something against black people. It's that I know that I would not be able to handle
Right.
that process. Because if you have a black friend, just any friend, I mean, I'm talking a friend, not somebody who you know, ask. Say, dude, tell me about your life. Tell me about things you've gone through. Tell me about racist events you've got. Dude, you will hear more than likely something to this effect. Man, I can't even begin to tell you. There's not enough sands in the hourglass. There's not enough time in the day. I've just learned not to process it. So I can't even tell you stories. But all I know is it's been with me since the day I was born.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that. I think I know what you're saying, Matt. Like, you wouldn't want to be black for a day because you literally couldn't truly appreciate all of what someone who's lived their entire life.
That's right.
What their
a day's not
experience.
long enough. And not just that, but was it hard for you? Okay, let me just ask everybody. I want you to say the words aloud wherever you're at. I don't want to be black for a day. Do you notice that when you say it, the emphasis on the word is you lower your voice when you say black? Because that is a subconscious reaction to it. You just did it, Amy. You don't even know you did it. But go back and listen to the tape.
I believe you, but geez.
Because if those words are difficult for you to say, then there's a reason why it's difficult to say. Would you walk into an all black church? Would you walk into downtown Los Angeles and say, I don't want to be black for a day?
No.
Okay, why?
Because I would be afraid they would think I'm a racist.
That's right. There you go. So there's so much, there's just even saying it would completely put you in a position of vulnerability. Imagine how many things for that day that you would continue to do to get yourself in a situation that you may not, because you have no earthly idea what it means to be black, and you never will.
Right.
Just
what
like,
I guess what I mean by that is I wouldn't want to be a woman for a day either necessarily, but that doesn't make me a sexist. You know what I mean? Like there's lots of things that you wouldn't want to be, but that doesn't mean that you're against them, right?
Right.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Yeah.
No. I know that's not what you're saying.
Do you know how many times that you would literally okay, here's an example. Okay. You're watching Blazing Saddles and all of a sudden you are black for a day and you're with a black family and you use your humor and go, where are all the white women at?
I've done that.
People would look at you, Leroy, what the? Okay. Leroy, come on. So I'm glad you've done that. Okay. So I'm not.
You heard me do it.
You're white.
It doesn't matter.
So you're going to tell me that you believe that you're going to be able to move into a situation where you'll go with a black family and be black, and that you're not going to say things that are completely fucked up because you're white. Yeah, dude.
I see what you're.
That's what I'm saying. You don't have the capacity to successfully make that experiment work.
Right.
And it would just literally be the most uncomfortable situation for me personally, because I wouldn't want to talk, afraid that I am going to trivialize the experience that people have gone through, because I'm a white guy and I have no idea what it's like to be black. But the same holds true that that nobody knows what it's like to be white who isn't white. Nobody knows what it's like to be a woman, even though they say there it is. That's the example. It's like a trans person saying, I'm a woman now. And you have no earthly idea the struggles that a woman has gone through. And every single person understands what I'm saying. Everyone goes, oh, I get it. There's no way a man could even possibly conceptualize what it means to be a woman. Then stop thinking you can conceptualize what it means to be black. That's my point. Does that make sense now?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and,
I totally agree with you.
The story actually reminded me of that Rachel Dolezal too, from it was probably 6-7 years back, where she was trying to become the head of the, was it the NAACP? Was that what she was?
The white lady who was pretending to be black. Yeah. Who identified as black.
Oh, you mean like Pocahontas, Elizabeth Warren? Oh,
wasn't that her name? Rachel Dolezal?
I don't know, but I remember her, but I don't know if that's her name. But I remember her because I thought that was.
I think everyone understands what I'm saying now. Do we all get it? Because of course, when it comes to transgender, like, oh yeah, I get it. Men saying they're women.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a white person like, hey guys, I was black for a day. Let me tell you all the hardships I endured. It's just, to me, you know what I would rather do is, instead of being black for a day, is that I would rather spend a day with a good friend and learn something new, rather than go ahead and try to put myself in a situation that I can't possibly comprehend. That's all. I would rather hear about others' experiences so I can learn from them, rather than trying to think that me going into that role, I would understand. The reason I ask this is we faced this in a college sociology class, and our sociology, Raymond Raboyne was just a bleeding heart liberal, but he asked that question in class, and he just had all these questions. All right. So are you no, I'm not racist. Have you ever said, no, I've never said anything racist. Have you done? No, I've never done that. I have black friends, and he asked all these questions in an all white class in Wyoming. And there were 3 or 4 black people in the class who, and I'm not trying to be racist here, who were basketball players on the team who I was all friends with. And they're sitting here just smiling, right? Just listen to all these white people say, oh no, I've never done. And then he's like, great. So I have a question for you. For the people who said that, would you all want to be white or black for a day? And people are like, quiet. Nobody says a fucking word. And then one guy has the courage to go, Joel, who's on the basketball team, who's 6'7", he's like, hell yeah, I would. I'd be a better basketball player. Right? And dude, the tension in the room was just like, oh my God. And the 3 black guys in the back are laughing their ass off. And one guy goes, you know what? He goes, like, I wouldn't want to be black. And then all of a sudden, everyone's like, yeah, me too, me too, me too, me too. And everyone, And then it's like watching mouse traps with ping pong balls, exponentially 2, 4, 6, 8, 16, get 32, get bigger.
Yeah.
Everyone in the class started having the courage to be honest and saying no. And then the whole experiment is why does an extreme amount of uncomfortability that gets broken all of a sudden makes everyone comfortable? And it's a really interesting experiment that if we could just get there naturally and be honest without having somebody with moral courage to stand up, or stupidity in this case, to say something, I think that's the secret to get through and to get to a place of moving forward, man. That's my point, is if you want to battle this stuff, we've got to stop being dishonest and saying what we think people want to hear and just be honest and deal with the consequences. That's my point.
And talk to the people who are the ones that are being affected by
Right.
Pick a freaking topic. It doesn't have to be a race thing. It could be whatever topic that person is being affected by. Talk to someone who has been affected by that, because Jason and I actually hosted, I don't know, 2-3 years ago when the George Floyd situation happened. We hosted
Right.
at our house. I
Murder.
probably talked about this. Yeah, we had all of our friends are freaking every color, every freaking everything from every part of the world. So we had everyone over to
Very
our house
specific.
to talk. I mean, they're all. I mean, I can't.
Whoa,
there's so
Susie.
many cultures and stuff. Oh, what happened? Oh, golly day.
Well,
Susie,
and
we
then
don't.
something like that happens, and it really just puts a bow on the entire fucking evening. I just,
Thanks for that one.
when I said, why can't we just speak? That's not what I meant. Like, that's not what I meant at all. It's okay, Amy. Go ahead, finish your story. My shock has
No,
been
my
surpassed.
point is there was there was like one or two, and they were white women who were not a part of our friend group necessarily. They were like dating some of the people at that time. They're no longer together, who were doing like the Karen thing of like being like overly upset on behalf of other people and other cultures and other
Sure.
ethnicities. And it was just like, shut the heck up. Like, just because you're dating a black guy doesn't mean you know what he's gone through. And like,
Right.
he's fine with
Right.
these, like, he was totally like, not I'm saying he, but like just in general terms, like that person could be fine with whatever that everyone else is talking about, but their girlfriend or boyfriend was like so offended by things. And I'm like, what the heck in the world? Like, shut up. You're not even in our friend group. We just got invited because you're a dating. Like,
And it's funny because we're basically trying to say that we're willing to accept culture in front of judging someone's color, but then you don't get to know their culture until you have those discussions with them, and until
Right.
you realize, this person who I have automatically assuming is from this part of the country turns out to be from South Texas, and you're like, oh, I didn't see that one coming. And now,
Right.
now you feel like a fucking asshole,
Right.
And so I guess that's the point, is that, part of that is having that level of acceptance, to realize that it is about someone's culture, and that we need to turn off all of those biases that we have going on in our eyeballs.
Right.
Right. And I guess that's the whole point of this conversation, is there's no magic. Okay. I'm going to put a bow on it. There's my 1 minute. There is no magic pill that's going to make you understand what it's like to be black in America. So
Right.
Stop saying you want to be black for a day, or I have a black friend, or I once was in a car with a black guy who got pulled over. Enough. You have no earthly idea what it's like to be black in America. Okay.
Right.
Therefore, if you don't, and you're going to speak on it, it's your opportunity to try and not understand from your perspective, but gain insight from others. And that also holds true with black people trying to understand what it's like to be white. Because everyone just think we come out of the womb and all of a sudden we're drinking Cristal and we have fucking Gucci handbags and shit. I'm sorry, that's not the case. And I've had to work my ass off for what I have. And if you're going to sit here and say that my white privilege, okay, that shit, that's what I'm talking about. This type of stuff. And instead of trying to make statements on how to be black or white, you notice in my video tonight, I didn't tell you what it's like to be a cop. I explained what cops have gone through. I didn't tell you what it was like to be black. I explained what black people have gone through and why they might be doing what they're doing based upon their perception and their stories and their lives. Try to stop pretending that you can all of a sudden have one conversation or there's a magic moment that you can understand what it's like to be black in America. You can't.
Now, does that also assume then that just because of the color of someone's skin, that are we now just assuming that they had a rough childhood? You know what I mean?
No.
Like, I mean, how do I know that if I'm looking at somebody that they didn't grow up like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? I don't know that.
No, you don't know until you have conversation.
Until you have those conversations with them. And
Right.
that's what I guess what I'm saying is that every American has some level of embedded victimhood that we feel like we've survived, right?
Mhm.
Be it Amy or myself, or it doesn't matter. You could pick anybody, and there is something in their past, some traumatic event that we've all lived through, but somehow sometimes some people just like look at an entire culture of people and say they had it rough because of this, and you don't know that.
Right.
I don't know that.
That's my point. It's just if you have not seen the movie Soul Man, go watch it. It's actually
so good.
It's
What is it,
actually
Soul
pretty
Plane?
damn. It's
Soul Plane?
Soul Man. It's with C. Thomas Howell, and he can't. His dad.
Great.
No, it's not Soul Plane. It's Soul Man, and C. Thomas Howell. His dad cuts him off, and he basically says, "I'm going to give you the gift that I should have given you a long time ago. I'm not paying for your college. In fact, your mother and I are going to Europe, and we're blowing your entire fucking tuition on us." And he's like, "Are you kidding me?" So he tries to apply. They're like, "You're too rich, you're too white, you're too this." So he takes an experimental black tanning pill and perms his hair, and he becomes black.
Yeah.
And he goes through and gets into Harvard on a black scholarship, and he finds out he takes it away from a black girl that he's trying to date. And, you know, his freaking professor is James Earl Jones, which is awesome. And it's an incredible story that's stupid, but really good. And it really, but here's the thing. This is the thing that the movie does. In all of its effort and glory, even if you watch it, you still have no idea what it's like to be black. And that movie just shows you that you have no fucking idea. It doesn't teach you what it's like to be black, because there's people who are like, "Oh my God, I know what it's like to be black. I watched Soul Man." I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? That movie, all that movie showed you was you have no idea what it's like to be black.
Right.
And that's what I'm trying to help people understand.
20 movies that are like that, right? That portray some level of that, where they try to blur those lines up a bit. There was that other movie with John Travolta where
Hey, Amy,
it looked
ban
like
Shav permanently. He's done. He's gone.
where it looked
He's
like
no longer
there was
allowed.
some sort of
Oh my God.
there was in that movie, it was a John Travolta movie. There was some sort of societal flip, and it looked like that the United States was like 87% black people, and you know, it was like a very small minority that were white people, and we were the ones living in the inner cities. I don't remember the name of that movie. Now I got to look it up. Damn it.
Nate, say it again real quick. I'm too busy. I'm
No,
just
I
dealing
know.
with idiots.
I was distracted too.
It was a John Travolta movie. Hold on. I got to look this up because I can't remember the name of the movie myself.
The boy in
No,
the bubble?
Chav just made comment. Listen, okay. For the immature morons in chat,
No. Chad
I don't
made a
know.
really inappropriate comment too. And
I don't
so
know
did
what
Susie.
you think this channel is, but it ain't fucking that. And if you can't sit here and have an adult conversation, get the fuck out of my channel.
Yeah, no. And
White
people
man's-
defending Chav, you didn't see his comment. I saw it, and it was gross. And
I know
Chav
what Susie
has a lot of
said, and
boundaries.
Susie, okay. This is what Chav does. Somebody says something that's inappropriate, and then Chav goes, "It's my time," and he's made racist comments before. This isn't the first time.
Yeah.
And I'm talking, he's made racist posts. That's what got him kicked out of the Dumb Nation group. He's gone. He's done. I don't want him in my fucking chat anymore. He's gone.
Yeah.
Nobody gets to make those. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it. I don't believe in it. I don't know if you think that I'm saying something that gives you the right to go ahead and say words like that. No.
Yeah.
You don't get to make fun of Jews in my chat. You don't need to be anti-Semitic. You don't need to be racist against white people. If you demonstrate that behavior, that is a one-way ticket to never, ever being allowed on my page again. And I don't fucking care if you care. I don't care if you like it. I don't care if you don't like it. Just fucking go away.
I had a discussion with somebody just the other day where we were talking about that, and the point of this show is to get dialogue going, not to point fingers and make fun of anybody else. Real quick, the name of that movie that I was talking about is called White Man's Burden from 1995, and
why does that sound familiar?
Never heard.
Yeah, it's a really good movie. And I'm just going to read you the first two sentences of the synopsis. The story takes place in an alternative America where the blacks are members of the social elite and where whites are inhabitants of the inner city ghettos. Louis Pincock is a struggling white worker in a chocolate factory, loving husband and father of
the
two
black
children.
and white symmetry is all over the place.
Oh yeah, it was a good movie.
Now this is a book, right?
What is it called?
White Man's Burden. It's from 1995, and it stars John Travolta and God, it looks like Sidney Poitier, but it's not.
It was a book, wasn't it?
It was a movie too. Harry Belafonte. That's who it is.
Wow. Okay, check it out.
Yeah,
I have literally 50 movies that have to watch because of y'all, and I've watched I think one.
Okay, I want to address a couple things real quick. Susie Love. Okay,
she's not getting it.
Listen, okay, all right. Listen to me. Susie Love is not a racist in my opinion. Susie Love made a mistake and said something and called it like she saw it. Okay. I have never said anything to Susie before, and I'm going to assume that was just stupidity. No offense, Susie. You should know better. That's not censorship. That is hate, and that word is not acceptable to me ever. And
she said it twice though. She then repeated it. That's where I think everyone else got upset. Like, hey, this is not. You can't.
Oh wait. Well, then if you said it again, I mean. Okay.
Yeah. And then Amy,
Susie, if you say that word and again, and you type it, even if you're quoting yourself, you're gone.
Yeah.
Keep that word out of my chat. I don't want to be associated with it. Because here's why, because you reflect on me and I don't want to be associated with that word. I don't want to be associated with any racist or
pushing it. Amy warned her, she removed her comment, I think, as well. There was another comment after the first one. It was not okay.
Okay,
she doesn't.
Folks,
she's out of touch. She just doesn't understand. She thinks
ignorance is very different than what Chav did. Chav is trying to make jokes that are inappropriate and unacceptable to me. I think Susie, no offense, Susie, I think you're ignorant.
Yeah.
And ignorant isn't a bad thing. Everyone gets ignorant. That word ain't cool in this chat, and it's not okay with me. So don't do it again. If you do it again, you're gone. Are you going to bed? I love you. You look horrible. Go get some rest. I love you. She has strep. Hayden gets strep all the time, and they won't take her tonsils out because she has to have it 6 times in a year before they'll take her tonsils out.
What? Go to Dr. Silva.
Susie, I don't give a fuck what your racist fucking son said last morning. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. Say it again and you're fucking gone in any context. Last time.
Exactly. Ashley says it's best. You cannot normalize saying that word no matter how much you try to explain it or excusing it. Exactly. It's not.
Don't say the fucking word again.
Don't say it. No one says that word. Nobody.
Your son, you should beat the shit out of your son.
Yeah.
You should, next time you see him, go beat your son's ass. Because if he's saying that word, that's your fault. Okay, Susie? You want a dose of reality? You're a bad fucking mom. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, how does that feel? Okay, that's one iota of how you make people feel when they see that fucking word in my open chat. Stop saying it, please. I'm done. Next time, never again. Great, done. Fucking good. Holy crap. It's like I'm a father in this place. There's just some things you don't say, y'all,
Right.
especially tonight.
Yes,
Can you imagine this? Middle of the news cruise down in Memphis, and there's all of a sudden bottles are throwing Molotov cocktails, and they say, "Why did you start writing?" Well, everything was fine, and then that "Don't Unfriend Me" page started dropping N-bombs, and we were done after that.
Yep.
You know, here we are trying to spread a message of tolerance and let's talk to one another, and people see that word, which is there is no other word more inflammatory.
Yeah.
Don't fucking do it.
And it's not just to one group of people. It's literally to like every group of people in the United States. Like nobody wants to have that. There are just certain things you just don't.
There's some words you just don't talk about, and that word is not your word. It's nobody's word. Nobody should even talk that. It's just, it's the same thing as any racial slur. Okay. Antoinette, she has been asking to call in. Antoinette, I think we're doing, why don't you call in and give us your 1 minute?
Yeah.
Amy, you go, give us your 1 minute.
Now? Crap, I don't know. I'm sorry.
No, it's not you. It's not you. Susie's back and she won't stop. Just go ahead, Amy. You get your 1 minute.
My 1 minute is dedicated to Susie. Susie, I don't know how old your son is, but parents all make mistakes. None of us are perfect. But I urge you with just nothing but caring and like love for your child, please sit down with him and talk about what is acceptable and not, because I don't care if his particular friend group is okay with a horrible slur that is degrading on every level, but you should not be okay with that, and your son should not be okay with that. So have better standards for your family. That's my 1 minute.
And anyone who says in the world today that they don't understand the severity of that word is lying. They're lying. They're lying. It's a lie. Yeah. Every single person on the planet. My daughter saw it spray painted at 3 years old on a wall and knew something was terribly wrong with that word. It's like in our DNA now. And that word should never be used in or out of any context unless
her son's 40, so it's okay. I'm also 40, and I'm sorry, I don't talk that way because I have a little respect for the human race and other people. Susie, I don't know if you're drinking or whatever, but like sit down, shut up, and
just
talk
Susie,
to your
just
son.
zip it. Just Susie, zip it, please. Just fucking stop. Anything you're typing right now, stop and hit delete. And then when you get the urge to do it again in 5 seconds, don't do it again either. Just stop. Don't say okay. Don't say yes. Just
have better standards. Have better standards for yourself and your child. I don't care how old they are. When my kids are 40,
is this thing
I
on?
will tell them.
Yes, it's on.
Okay, everyone stop talking. Leroy, your last minute. My God.
Amy actually said the right word at the right time, and that was what my minute is going to be focused on. It's the word respect. You know, we're looking at the events that took place in Memphis, and we're looking at these police, and we can pick the event apart. We can. It's easy, and we can say that they did not respect the life and the sanctity of that person. We as a society tend to look at swaths of people and say that we either do or don't respect them. I mean, Republicans look at Democrats and Democrats look at Republicans, and left versus right, and the Astros versus the Indian. It doesn't matter, right? It's about respect, though. And one thing that there's no other word that trumps all of that and is so inflammatory and has the venom behind it to cause such a reaction as that word. So it's like the ultimate insult. And if we're talking about respect, and if we're talking about not only earned but given, as well, and trying to understand other cultures, then part of respect means to know what terminology to use and what
Just
not
kill it. Just
to
kill it.
use.
Kill it. Kill it. Amy,
And so-
fucking, no, kill it. Amy, fucking Banner. Now. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. Just
I wasn't
fucking
reading,
pop
so
smoke.
sorry.
Charlie Mike, throw a grenade, fire in the hole. She's done. No,
Mm.
Leroy. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That was
You could.
beautiful, but it's on deaf ears, man. Just fucking do it now.
Well, I hope that it's not on deaf ears, and I hope that for everyone that is watching this show, that if they get anything from anything that I have ever said, that it's is that we need to have more respect for one another.
I'm gonna take my minute here because I right here.
You're
Yeah.
upset, I can tell.
I'm
My
upset
father
too.
recruited Eric Turner from Ventura High School to the Colorado Buffaloes to try to go to the Buffs. He's a strong safety, all channel league. He played for the Cleveland Browns and he played for the Los Angeles Raiders. And I'm not going to go into the personal ups and downs and all around of why he was special to someone in my family. But my dad used the N-word to describe and make jokes all the time. My grandfather would drive by an African American and compare them to primates. My mother, when my 14-year-old friend Steve Sparks came over, said, I have to burn the sheets because that blank slept in my house.
Wow.
You have no fucking idea the amount of racism that I had to tolerate in my own home. And it pushed me to do graffiti art and hang out with gangs and hang out with as many black friends as I could. And you have no earthly idea that I am the darkest white boy you've ever met. You got no clue. And you don't know who I rolled with. You don't know who I hung out with. You don't know any of it. And I don't go into it. And I still have no earthly concept what it is to be black. If you are white and you use that word, your soul is fucked. Because one of these days, you're going to have to go atone and you're going to have to sit there in front of the gates and you're going to have to ask the question and answer the question, while more than likely that man who's going to be judging you is not white. Because if you can just read the book and realize where they came from and what area of the country and the world they came from, you're going to realize that there's not many white Anglo-Saxon Protestants in the Holy Land.
Yeah.
Your soul needs work. If you still have that word in your vocabulary, you can do whatever you want in this country. You can't do it on my channel. So if you haven't expressed the vernacular that was expressed tonight, and you haven't done that yet, and you're going to, you can fucking leave my channel now and save me the frustration. I don't want your attention. I don't want you to watch my show. I don't want your money. I don't want you to buy my clothes. I don't want you representing me in any fucking way, shape, or form. And that goes for any color that you are. If you've got racist bones in your body, GTFO and see your way out the fucking door. Okay,
Yes.
I'm done.
Yes. Can I just, I already have my minute, but
No, have another one, please.
my parents were never racist, but I have family growing up that was but they were racist and didn't know they were racist. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it took them until, I don't know, the 90s for like the rest of the family to be like, hey, you can't talk to people that way. You don't call people those names. You don't say that word. Like, and I remember being a child and in their home and being super uncomfortable, like literally driving to church. And like Matt said, you see someone of a darker skin tone and they use a word on the way, just like, hey, look at that person with not that word. And you're like, and I remember as a child being like, what? Like that, it felt so uncomfortable to me as a child because my parents, again, were not teaching racism in our home, but we had family that was, and just, it didn't occur to them until I don't know who it was. Someone finally said, this ain't cool. And now they're not, they don't, and they didn't feel that way in their hearts in a negative way. It was a vernacular, it was just wrong, but they had no idea how effective it was in keeping that hatred going.
Okay. Sesh says, so should we ban books that have that word in it, like Huck Finn? Not being hyperbolic, but that has been banned in most public schools. Okay. What? No. My time. Mark Twain never said that word in public, ever.
Right.
Mark Twain wrote about it because he was an advocate for racial unity and not to have people segregated based on color. He was one of the most brilliant minds and literal geniuses to ever walk the earth. The man was not a racist. He used it for them. He used the word to help people understand what it felt like and try in his immense capabilities and to be a wordsmith and a purveyor of the vocabulary that most couldn't even comprehend to convey something that was absolutely unimaginable. He never used the word. The difference between books like To Kill a Mockingbird or a movie like Django Unchained or any of the others, it's not to be used for shock value. It's not designed for that. It is designed to teach why you don't. And Quentin Tarantino is not a racist because it's said 246 times in the movie. He says it because it was said 246 fucking times in that era.
Yeah.
Something that is historically, Sesh, I'm not mad at you. I'm just talking with passion. Something that's historically accurate, or when Joe Rogan used it 14 times, he used it in context. I've said it twice on this show in 2.5 years, in context, or to paraphrase a person. That is not for me. That is for the person to understand not to use the word. Mm-hmm. When people use it, like Susie used it, she knew exactly what she was doing. She knew exactly what she was saying. And Shavasto also knew exactly what he's doing. And it was for them so they could get a rise. Those people are fucking abhorrent. So no, you shouldn't ban books. But what I don't want are certain books that my child can read and learn that word before they can contextualize and understand perceptively what it means.
Right. How awful it is.
And how awful it fucking is. It's a very big difference between a literal work or a song or something else versus you, because you know the difference between right and wrong.
Will never.
Go ahead.
You will never, ever get to exchange any sort of ideas of culture, expand your horizons, have an honest to God conversation. You will never get to do any of those things with language like that.
And right. You know what? I use the word fucktard, and you know what? You're right. I should never use it again because I can't stand people who call people libtards. Someone's mental state. It's a military term. It doesn't matter. It's unacceptable, and I apologize for using it, not because of your sensitivity, because I know better. Okay? I don't give a fuck about your sensitivity. Just like I don't care anyone who is offended. I know better. Shouldn't use it. I should have used the word twat waffle, which is my go-to. That's my go-to. I should have used that. Thank you for the feedback. And you know, and I don't even think it was. Jesus said, just like Matt using the word fucktard, it's not a negative if you've ever served in the military. You know what? No, it is a negative, and it's unacceptable, and I shouldn't use the word. So I'll take a hit for that. But see, that's what accountability looks like. I'm sorry, shouldn't have used that word. I don't really care if you're offended. I just know better. That's what accountability looks like for those people who don't know what it means. Holy crap. Okay. Well,
all right.
Interesting show tonight. Holy crap, man. That was a little heavy tonight.
Yeah.
A little heavy tonight.
Yeah. That required a lot of heavy lifting.
It's just, folks, listen, it's messy in here. We're going to break a few eggs, but if you're told repeatedly to stop,
And you don't.
and you don't, you're gonna go away. Leroy, I love you. I appreciate you. Who wants to do Veteran Crisis tonight?
I can do it.
Share. I was like, we can share it. We used to take
Okay.
turns.
Yeah,
All right, we'll do that.
We could take turns. I didn't know that. I always get the middle. I hate the middle. It's no fun.
You can do the middle. I don't care.
It
I'll
hurts.
go first. Folks, let's
All
call
right, you
out
go
like
first.
we always do with the Veteran Crisis Hotline, 1-800-273-8255. Press the number 1. Folks, 22 veterans a day commit suicide, and it's way too many. Please do me a favor. Reach out to a veteran. Start that dialogue with them. PTS, traumatic brain injury, anxiety, depression are all very real, and veterans need your help. Amy.
Uh,
I don't know what's left.
Yes. Yeah, I know you said everything. Yes, reach out to your veteran friends and loved ones. They do not report you to your duty station. It's 100% anonymous. And if you are not a veteran, you can still make that call. If you need to make that call and are having trouble doing it by yourself, you can reach out to Matt, Leroy, or myself. Like Leroy said, when I'm here the other day on the show when I wasn't here.
When she decides to show up.
I'm sorry.
I'm kidding.
Oh,
I know.
He's not kidding. There's truth in humor. He was being
No,
serious.
I am kidding.
I know.
You know, Amy, here's a
I
knife.
absolutely
Do something with a knife.
Yeah. Get my back and twist it.
Have you
Anyway.
guys seen Pablo Francisco? Comedy Central presents. Go do yourself a favor and go watch Pablo Francisco. Comedy Central presents. Okay, listen. I failed tonight. My feedback to myself is I failed tonight, and I that video. You think it would have made people go, huh? But it didn't. All it did was bring out the stupidity. I'm extremely disappointed in the people who I surround myself with tonight. Not everybody, but there's a few people in chat who severely, unfortunately, will not get to grow up here. You're going to have to find someplace else to do it. And I hope everyone agrees. And if you don't, I don't care. So my channel, my choice. Good night, everybody. Love you. I will see you tomorrow. Maybe I might come on, might not, but everyone have a good night. I'm going to talk to the dummies a little bit. Good night, you two.
All right.
Good
Folks.
night. I
Love
will
you.
say this,
Good night.
Leroy. I was going to ask if I could please be excused from next Friday as well, but I can come on other night.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I love
listen,
you
the only person who's going to be a jerk about it is Leroy, Amy. So you don't have to worry about me.
So,
No, we
Amy,
have
what
Bert
I'm
Kreischer tickets, and it's Friday,
Nice.
and I know. Sorry.
Wait, where are you going?
I got for Christmas, because I'm awesome, I got Jason Bert Kreischer tickets. And I said he could take whoever he wanted. He chose to take me. So I was going to go with him on Friday.
Go where?
To see Bert Kreischer.
What the fuck is Bert Kreischer?
The Machine? You don't know Bert Kreischer?
Oh, the Machine. Oh, you should have said the Machine. I know the Machine. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
The Machine.
But I can
Dude.
come on, and I just have to put it in my calendar. I need to be better.
Dude,
about
go
it.
it. Dude, you're going to go see the Machine. That's fantastic. I wonder if he's going to do the Russian train story.
I'm sure
Has he done
will.
anything else?
No, I don't know. He's funny. I like him. I think he's funny. And it was really, there was no one else we could go see when it worked out for timing. So
Yeah.
that I could
all right.
afford, I should say.
I'm going to go wrap up a couple questions with the dummies. You guys are off the hook, and then I'm going to pop smoke. Good night, you
Hey,
two.
real
Love you
quick,
guys.
before we do that,
Before we
Amy,
do that.
I'm going to send you that file in Google Drive. Look for it in the next 20 minutes.
Yeah, just drop it in that
And
Google Drive.
Past
Okay.
that, love you guys, and I'll see you in a
Dude,
little bit.
you work Intel, and you're struggling to get her a file. Seriously, dude.
I
Thank
don't know
God
how
the
to.
country's
I
on the
might
major.
be like, how do
I know.
I'll just side text you and be like, how do I open the Google? I don't know. Can you just-
Leroy is on a deadline to get the file of the Russian information to save the world. One man,
You guys
one
know it,
mission.
but I'm not
I don't know how to send this file. I don't know what I'm doing. The world is
not Leroy's fault. It's mine.
See, he gets. See, he can talk shit, but when someone talks shit to him, he Charlie
It's
Mikes.
not his fault. He did everything right. It's 100% my fault. I realized I made a mistake halfway through doing it, and
Do you think I'm going to get a text that's bad from Leroy?
no.
Man, I don't appreciate you making fun of me.
No.
I love him.
I
All
love
right.
you guys.
See you guys. Bye.
Everybody,
Good
love you.
evening. Don't Unfriend Me Nation.
we're not doing this
Episode
again. We already did this.
433. We already did this. Holy. Oh, I just morphed. That was weird. Okay. I got to read this. The Minnesota House passed legislation after 7 hours debate late Thursday night will require the state's electricity grid to 100% carbon free in 17 years. That's going to get repealed. That's not going to keep. I learned that phrase from a female I used to work with. So is that sexist? I don't know. Sheesh. I'm not the moral police. Thank you for getting my hoodie shipped, Matt. I'm excited to get it. Yeah. No problem. Oh, wait. I've seen it all night. F you, Leroy. Perfect. Hope all is well and nothing bad happens in regards to the world and chat. Peace out, dummy. Matt Leroy. All right, Lee. Kim Whitmore says ass. Are you offering, Kim? Matt, that was a great show. Don't let the few bring it down. Food for thought. Thanks, buddy. Good night, Leroy. Soon, Matt, Kristen says. I don't know what about soon. Hey, military point of view, are we close to nuclear war? And the World Health Organization saying stock up on iodine or nuclear meds. Dude, nuclear meds are purchased. They expire actually every, 2 or 3 years? This happens all the time. No, doesn't bother me at all. Good night. Great discussion. You didn't fail. You brought out the conversation. Some people failed to be a proper part of it. Thanks, Tuner. Amy, Matt, love you, brother. You did good tonight. Don't beat yourself up. You learned from this. Thanks, buddy. You too. Reach out if it gets tough. Michelle says, Matt, my friend, you did not fail tonight. Thanks, Carl. Tinkerbell, Truckin' Tinkerbell is here. Night all. The only name we should use for others is the one their parents gave them. Wouldn't that be nice? Is it too much to wear my hoodies in one of my professional wedding photos just trying to show off the show? No, do it. I thought you meant a Pink Floyd tribute band. Is the Russian train story is the best? It is. I wanted to see Chad Prather. He is Fort Wayne, February 3rd. Great show as always. Great team. Thanks, Joseph. I haven't watched the videos yet. Not sure I want to. Great show, Matt. Yeah, Shirley, just skip it. Angel Eye, I want to see him too, but I don't think he comes to my area. It should email you the link to the shared file. Just blame everything on Trump. That's usually how it works. Matt, love the new red shirt. Thanks. This isn't mine. This is Grunt Styles. I reached out to PFC for a chopping block, but no go. Maureen, guess I'm late tonight. Nightly. All right. Yep. It's late tonight. We got 95 on. Folks, thanks for a great show tonight. Go watch the recorded show if you didn't have a chance. I don't like to get grumpy, but dude, yeah, you don't get to use racial slurs on this channel. I don't know what channels you're used to, but it's certainly not here. I don't tolerate that stuff. And there's just no forgiveness for me for that. And you can call me PC or whatever. I don't care. I've heard the word before and I know what it means. And that's the reason why I don't want you to use it. Let's chat tomorrow. Go like, share, and subscribe if you could. Please spam the hell out of the like button before you leave. And then go and like the current video we did tonight in regards to, the 5 officers. It's an interesting video. And hopefully there's no riots tonight. Let's just have peace in the United States. Let's protest. Block the freeway. I don't care. Do all that crap. Just don't burn shit down. Just stay calm. And if you're living in the city, be safe tonight. Good night, everybody. I will see you maybe tomorrow. It depends. Love you. Night. And good job, Glenn and Amy, for moderating tonight. And Lee, you guys did awesome. I appreciate you. Thanks for, I know it's heavy lifting. Some people are our friends and we like them and care about them. But if they went tonight, they most assuredly deserved it. Sorry for Chav, but just one too many times. Good night.